So hi everyone. Firstly, thank you for joining us today. I'm Kyungmin Nam, the Assistant Director of Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies program at HKU. Today, I'm very happy to organize a 30-minute mini lecture in Urban Studies session. So today the plan is that for the first 20 minutes, we will have a mini urban studies lecture by Professor Anthony Ye, and it will be followed by a 10-minute Q&A session. So Professor Anthony Ye is a chair professor of urban planning at HKU, and he is also the founding director of our Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies program. So today, he will offer a mini lecture, 20-minute mini lecture titled "What Affects the Development of Future Cities." So please join me in welcoming Professor Ye. Professor Ye, can you share your screen?
Can you see me now?
Yes, okay. Correct.
Well, thank you very much for your kind introduction, Dr. Nam. And this is my great pleasure to talk about what affects the development of future cities. So just like all of you, although I have been studying this for a long time about cities, but I think I'm still a student of it. Okay, so let's look at, if you want to look for the answer for the future, I think you have to understand the present, particularly also understand the past first. So when we talk about city development, urbanization, right, in the modern era, basically, I think this is starting from the Industrial Revolution, right? In the old days, we only have market towns, we only have capitals, but the, emergence of cities basically is a post-industrial revolution type of a phenomena in starting from 1760 to 1840, depending on what you consider, right? The historian will argue about that, right? The reason why we have urban compared to rural is mainly because there's a new, because we have a new a form of technology in terms of productions, right? And so and also different forms of transport. But also it is happening that Akuman, can you listen? Can you hear me? Akuman? Okay, I think, is there any problem hearing me? Hello?
Professor, it's fine, yeah.
Okay, because I hear some voices.
Yeah.
Okay, now, so basically what happens is that we are going into the era of urbanization. And obviously, we know that now over 50% of the people are now living in cities, right? But also the urbanization brings a lot of problems like pollution, disease. Is not something new to us. Now, in the past, we're suffering from disease, overcrowding, and the crime. If you still remember Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, written in 1838, then you will see the type of situations that we are facing, right? So urban planning, right, as a response to this type of urban problems is actually also quite recent, right? The first, Town Planning Institute, the Royal Town Planning Institute was founded in 1914, right? It's only celebrating the 100th anniversary in 2014, right? And also similarly in America, they have this American City Planning Institute, 1917. Well, let's come back to Hong Kong. Hong Kong, actually, we have the Hong Kong Institute of Planners setting up in 1979, roughly around 40 years ago. Because of that, we actually also established the Center of Urban Studies and Urban Planning at the University of Hong Kong in 1980, right? So we are now celebrating the 40th anniversary of Urban Studies and Urban Planning at the University of Hong Kong. Well, the Department of Urban Planning and Design, it was restructured in 1907, right? That more or less like 13 years ago, right? That is basically, restructure after the Center of Urban Studies and Urban Planning. Okay, so first of all, what is a city first? This is a great question, right? And also, right, before I give you the answer, maybe I would like to have a poll first. Okay, what makes a city? What do you think is a city, right? When you think about a city, is it about the building, the population, the economy, the environment, or the land use? Maybe can you just let me have a go of what you think? Great. Maybe I will try to share the results, right? So you can see, different people actually have different idea of what is a city. Something about building, some about the population, and some about land use and economy, etc. Right? But I can tell you that this is all about a city. So somehow, all of you are correct because it all depends on what you look at it. Okay. So a city is multifaceted. It is about society, about the environment, about land use. But when we are talking about a city, okay, and what are we talking about, right? So when you're looking at a city, we are trying to look at the urban spatial structure. Right? It's one of the, if you like, characteristics of a city, which actually we can look at the economy, look at the environment, look at the society, look on the public administration, etc. But eventually, it also boils down to the urban spatial structure. But what do we mean by urban spatial structure? We are talking about land use distribution. We are talking about population distribution, as well as economic activity distribution. That is, okay, where do people live? Where do people work? And what are the type of land use? And they are all interrelated, right? Now let's try to look into the so-called land use distribution first, or what is known as the urban spatial structure model. Now it can be dated back in 1925. We have this concentric ring model based on Chicago, right? Done by Burgess in the University of Chicago, what they call the School of Human Ecology, right? So you can see, well, basically it was based on the loop, right? Basically based on the railway. Okay, and then you gradually, just like concentric ring, and eventually you have these very nice single family dwellings over here. So this is the so-called concentric ring model. But later, in 1939, we have this so-called sector model. You have the CBD, and then you have these factory sectors, and these are all based on the highway because at that time you have the automobiles, right? And then later in 1945, you have this Harris and Newman's multi-nuclear model, and basically saying that, well, okay, because of this spatial dispersal, now you will find that you have also a CBD, but on top of that, you have also different nuclear based on the traffic nodes, right? And also we can say, well, recently also we are also talking about polycentric dispersed city model. So these are the land use model, how the land use are being restructured. Obviously, this is all affected, for example, like the Burgess model by the railway and the other model that we are talking about, like the human model, as well as the Homer Hot model. This is all based on, if you like, transport, okay, and also the mode of production. And also in Asian cities, we can also talk about city model itself. This is the case of maybe Calcutta or whatever, right? So every cities, we have its land use distribution based on the economy, based on etc. Right? Okay. Then we can also look at how people distributed. And one of the very famous spatial structure is called the density population density gradient, or population distance decay function. So if you are farther away from the city, there will be less people living there, and it's quite universal. Look at here, we have New York, Beijing, etc. Right? It's more or less the same. Okay. On top of that, we are not only talking about people, but also we are talking about the type of community, right? And also we are talking about social areas. So for example, in American cities, we have this ethnic status, family status, economic status. When they group together, they become social areas, right? Even in Hong Kong, in 2001, Professor C.P. Low actually did the first social area analysis of Hong Kong. So he divide Hong Kong into different groups or community, the type 1 high density residential, commercial, mixed use, right? And also we have the type 3 rural area, etc. So you can see every city, actually you can see that different people tends to live together, right? And this is called the urban social spatial structure. And we can also look at the employment distribution, right? For example, if you plot the jobs available in different locations, you can see that they are not spatially evenly distributed. And this come up back to something that we recently do, is that we can use mobile phone, and then we can know where people actually go to work. Now, where people go to work is very important. It is affecting the transport system, affecting commuting, etc. And one thing that we would like to have, particularly in the days of sustainable development, is to have self-containment. So people, live there and then work there. Just like when we were doing our new town planning in the 1970s, we say that we would like to have a self-contained new towns. So people live there and they can shop there, have their schools there, and more importantly, they can work there so that you can minimize the traffic, right? And so this is a studies that we are based on mobile phones, and then you can find that these are the places they are less self-contained. This is in Shenzhen. This is in the urban area and in the suburb, right? And the suburbs are more self-contained because they have a lot of factories there, right? So this is important spatial data structure, or the urban employment job housing balance structure, which is of great concern to the government as well as in terms of planning, right? So when we are looking at the cities, you can see it's very dynamic, okay? And then you can see there are different places of concentrations. So, but what are we talking about? Basically, we are trying to look at the spatial pattern. But the spatial pattern, what caused this spatial structure is mainly because of a spatial process, right? There is something that create a pattern. So what you see over here is only the output, right? And that output obviously have a feedback to affect the spatial process as well. But more importantly, the spatial process is affected by technology. How do you, for example, do you have mass transit, and are you using buses, etc., or motor vehicles? But the technology also, it also affects the socio-economic development. So the spatial process is only part of the equation. And more importantly, it will be affected by technology as well as the socio-economic development. And it will affect locational choice, how people choose to live, how the employer choose to set up their firms, right? Now, one thing very important that will affect future cities, right, will be related to these changes in technologies, changes in the socio-economic development, is what is known as smart cities. Okay, before I talk about smart cities, maybe I would also like to ask you so on, do you understand end polling? Okay, so not this one. Okay, have you heard of smart Hong Kong? How many of you have heard about smart Hong Kong? Well, I can also share with you the type of results that we got, right? So it seems to be not a lot of people, or well, minor majority, right? Okay, great. So stop share the results. Okay, but anyway, what is a smart city? Smart cities, I have different people have different definitions. I like to use this definition by the European Union. We're talking about smart people, smart mobility, smart economy, smart environment, smart living, and smart governance. It seems that it's everywhere, right? Okay, but let's see, right? In the Hong Kong, we have this in 2017. We have the Smart Hong Kong report, as well as this is the government policy now. And you can see over here, this is all the 6 major smart mobility, smart living, smart environment, smart people, smart government, smart economy. More importantly, they add on open data as a part of the strategy. Okay, so what actually makes up a smart city? It is basically is nothing new, right? Actually, in 1985, we already is the beginning of smart cities because of computers. Well, in the old days, we have mainframe computers, and now in the 1985, we have this local area network. So we can link up a lot of small computers together to share data, right? And in that case, the Hong Kong government in 1986, they formed the Land Information Center. They digitized all the maps, right? And in that case, the government and the firms can use all these type of locational data, right? But it is only restricted in terms of your office. But later in 1995, we have what is known as the internet and sensors. In that case, we have these intelligent cities. Basically, people now can use the data as well as through the internet at home only, right? But the real coming up of the smart cities, you can say is 2010, where we have smartphones with sensors, with Wi-Fi and IoT, and then we can now have government, firms, people, everybody, anytime, anywhere. Okay, and you can see the importance of the backbone of smart cities: GIS, sensors, ICT, information communication technology, and also Wi-Fi. But in the future, what actually affects is more than that. We are now cannot say we are a smart city. I don't know what version we are having. Obviously, it will be affected by the 5G, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, as well as the autonomous vehicle. Okay, so what are the smart technology? First of all, you need to collect your data. You need to have a lot of sensor, just like human being, right? You need to sense the environment, and then you have to process the information, and then you have to provide the service itself, right? So that to the public, to the government, as well as the business. And the smart technology have to be automatic, real-time, data mining, self-learning, easy to use, and more important of all, is affordable. Okay, so sensors basically are the major hearts of the smart cities. We have a lot of sensors. I don't want to list out them all, but they can have many applications, more than you can imagine. Whatever you can think of, you can find applications on that. Now, one of the example is smart mobility. In the old days, we used the a navigator, but now also using GPS. And in the future, we can using the Chinese Beidou system, right? More importantly, everybody is now using the Google Map or the Google Map, whatever, with your smartphone, right? And then the other one is called the smart environment. You can do a lot of air quality, water quality monitoring with it. Okay, and also as well as smart health, you can have this wireless body area network and the devices. In the case you fall down, the ambulance will come immediately. Okay, but what does it mean? It means that all the sensors are giving us a lot of new big data, a lot of data related to the environment, and then indicated in relation to location, your spending, etc. And so this gives rise to a new data analytics, right? For target marketing, for business people, location-based services, and also for the government and the business to increase efficiency, increase the feedback. Okay, so these are the new things. And this is also on top of that. Now we are able to use AI everything, that is artificial intelligence. Sometimes people call it AOE, AI of everything, right? So all sorts of new data analytics can be developed using AI. But what is the advantage of using the big data, the sensors, the smart cities? It can help us to improve our efficiency. For in the past, if we want to do transport planning, we need to go through trying to estimate the trip, the generation, distributions, modal split, trip assignments. But it takes a long time, very expensive. Normally, we do it once every 10 years, just like the sensors. But now with the mobile phone data, you can do it every day. You know where people are living, where they move, and their OD trips. And also through the taxi data, through the transit smart data, like the Octopus, you're able to find out where people are taking different modes of transport. And so also in the future, in terms of urban management, we are talking about the physical real city, right? Just like what we are doing now. But in the future, we have also a mirror called the digital twin, right? basically we have a digital city with a GIS and BIM, and then with a lot of sensors, we are able to get the traffic and environment information for the predictions, and where also we can also get all sorts of different informations, and then we can use AI to optimize our management so that it can do a feedback, right? Okay, to make the system more efficient in urban management. But what is the relationship between smart technologies and smart societies? That will govern how the future city will go, right? So this is related back to our topic. What affects the development of future cities? Okay. Now, so one of the very important thing that we have been talking about is in 1938, when we have urbanization, right? Just I told you, right? And so a lot of people are now moving to cities. And so Louis Wirth, a sociologist, wrote a very influential paper called Urbanism as a Way of Life, compared to the rural area, right? Because in the rural area, everybody knows everybody, you have a lot of social control. But once you go into the big cities, you are just anonymous. In that case, you lost social control. In that case, the crime rate will go up and a lot of other social issues involved. So if today, what he's going to write, I think he will write smart city as a new way of life. Obviously, it's a new way of doing things. Later, we can talk about that more, okay? And also, there is a famous also urban sociologist, Manuel Castells. In 1989, he wrote a book called Information Society, saying how people actually make use of information at the time. And later in 1996, because of the internet, he talked about the network society. Now today, if he is going to write a book, definitely the book is The Rise of Smart Society, right? So this, you can see how important smart society is affecting our way of living as well as the city itself. Now, one thing that is very important, right, is about not only about smart cities, but the technology is keep on changing very fast. We have the Industrial 1.0, right? That is starting in the Industrial Revolution, and later we have this production line, and then we have computers, and now we are going to Industrial 4.0, right? So this is Internet of Things, cyber physical system. And also on top of that, we have the Transport 4.0, right? It is from horse cart to steam engine to railway to motor vehicles, and now to this so-called autonomous vehicle, right? So this is coming, okay? And so you can see in the autonomous vehicle, right, everything is related to everything. So you can have vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to network, vehicle to pedestrian. It will definitely will affect our way of managing the transport. So because we have so many sensors, we are supposedly be able to, even without traffic lights in the future. More importantly, it's also affecting us. Instead of owning a car, you don't even need to own a car. This is what is known as mobility as a service. In that case, you just dial a car or try to, someone, if you want to go from A to B, everything will be arranged for you, okay? And so now we are going from this, the combinations of all this technology, the Industrial 4.0, the Transport 4.0, as well as the smart city. Now we are living in this from the hunting society to the agrarian society, industrial society, information society, and now we are talking about the super smart society that we're working on, right? And obviously there will be some changes that is coming in affecting city development. Now, one thing that you can think of, particularly when we are talking about COVID-19, right? A lot of you are doing home-based shopping. One of the big business is now with this type of mail ordering, right? And the other one, so the demand for shopping space will be very different because you don't need to go to shops. You just call them up and then it will deliver to you, even your food now, right? Okay, and now we are talking about work from home. It used to be called home-based work, right? And it will also affect the demand for office space. Okay, and also what is the impact of this autonomous vehicle on urban form? Probably we do not need so many car parking space, and all of them can turn into a park maybe. And also the city itself may be also organized according to clusters based on the information technology. You can work at home and you can shop at home. You can even dine at home, right? Okay, and also in terms of the street, you don't need to, for example, such a large street road, right? And so basically call it street thinning, and so we can have more greenery if you like, right? We don't know, these are the future, right? So this is something that we want to explore, right? Okay, and so you can see over here, because of the technology, social economic development, it will affect the location choice, and it will really affect our development. And so when we talk about urban planning, in 1957, the classic textbook, we talk about activities, and I talk about spatial needs, and then we talk about spatial planning. The planning is because we have some spatial needs, but what affects spatial needs, what affects activities, is based on social economic development. And the spatial needs is also affected by the transport and communication system, right? If we now have autonomous vehicle, if we have mobile phone, if we have ICT, it will be very different in terms of spatial needs. Maybe you do not need to have a lot of offices space, right? And so another very important thing is about planning theories. It will affect spatial planning. So we can see the future is all related to these three major evolution or development. Social economic development driven by technology or affected by technology, and also the transport and communication also affected by technology. Planning theories affected by both. Okay, and so what are the impacts of this smart society on us? Obviously, we will have more convenient traveling and living, more sustainable environment, more business, more efficient government, more shared economy and travel. These are the advantages. But also at the downside, we may have more social divided for those who know the technology and those engage in the technology and those not engaging, right? And also more income inequality, more employment problems, probably maybe the information technology as well as the smart technology may take up some of our employment. Recently, we also need to know more data privacy issues. So we have a lot of challenges facing us. So if you want to learn more about it, I think this is the program that you should enter. It's the Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies, right? Our major aim is understanding cities, planning and designing your future. The program actually is an interdisciplinary and studio-based curriculum with emphasis on the design and multimedia communication skills and problem-based learning projects to equip students to become professionals in the built environment who can approach any problem from multiple perspectives. And we prepare students for the professional postgraduate program in urban planning, urban design, housing management, landscape architecture, conservation, say transport policy and planning, etc. Right? And so also if you want, they can also study MPhil and PhD. Okay, so if you are, and also why do you want to do urban studies at our department? Because we do, as I mentioned earlier, have over 40 years of experience in the teaching and research of urban studies and planning as the master degree level. This program is also not that new now. It was started in 2011, right? So it's almost 10 years now. We have also very high international academic standing and very active in research or staff. I think our staff profile can be comparable in any top universities, like University College London or maybe Harvard or MIT. I think our profile can be very comparable. And also we give students a lot of opportunities for further studies, as I said. Right, so if you are interested, this will be the website, right? This is the, well, if you can remember, or it doesn't matter nowadays, right? Using smart technology, just Google it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ye, for an excellent lecture. So Professor Ye gave you an overview of key ideas in urban development and also key agenda for future urban studies research. So, and he also gave a brief, very short introduction of our program. So I really appreciate that. So we slightly ran over time. So just in case you have to leave early, let me see. Professor Ye already showed you the our programs information here. So just in case you have to leave early, but you want to know more about our BAUS program, please visit our program's website given here, or just give us an email or give us a call here. So if you can still stay here, we are happy to take some questions from you about Professor Ye's lecture or about our program in general. So I also monitor the chatting window. So if you'd prefer, you can give us questions through the this chatting window.
If you want to speak to us, I think you can unmute your microphone, right, yourself,
yeah,
and
that'd
then
be
start.
even better. Yes.
Yeah. You're most welcome to ask any questions. Let's try to explore more.
Okay, just in case you need more time to type, so let me just wait for a while. Okay. So thank you. Oh, here we have one question. What's the difference between CUHK Urban Studies program and our program? So our program, our program is recognized by the Hong Kong Institute of Surveyors Planning and Development Division, and also Royal Institution of the Chartered Surveyors. So probably that makes some difference, and also in terms of the core curriculum, you can find some difference. And okay, another question. Any
there's a
detail?
question saying that, do you think smart city concept is difficult to achieve in Hong Kong like Guntong? Let me put it this way. We have all the smart technologies. Actually, in all the university in Hong Kong, a lot of people in different disciplines have been doing research on smart technologies, right? So basically, this is not the future technology; it's the present technology. It's depending on whether the government have the will and also would like to spend money on it, right? But smart cities, the smart type of economy is something that whether we like it or not, we have to engage in it.
Okay, thank you very much. And wow, we have a lot of questions here. So okay, so from easy questions first, is there any specific thing we have to prepare for the admission? So everything you need, you will learn in class once you get into our program. So basically, you don't need to prepare anything for admission. So our admission basically is determined by your DSE results and interview performance. So we will organize 2 rounds of interviews, like group interviews conducted in May, and the second round interview, which is individual basis, will be organized in late July, after your final DSE results are announced. So we mainly consider your DSE results, best 5 subject score, and your interview performance. Okay. Okay, thank you. And in terms of details about our program curriculum, I strongly recommend you you visit our program website. You can find very detailed information in terms of our core curriculum and what kind of core courses offered, and etc. So and then yes. So as I said, like your interview performance is considered for our admission decision. So definitely interviews a matter for your admission matter.
Well, there's a question about what is the path to become an urban planner. Obviously, you know, studying in our program will also give you the path, because we are having the only recognized urban planning program in Hong Kong by the Hong Kong Institute of Planners, right? Although you can also study, you know, in UK as well as other, you know, in America, and then come back for examinations, right? Obviously, right? You can do that, but if you study in a program, obviously you have that path, right, to become an urban planner. The other thing is, if you do not study geography, you will be admitted into a program. I can tell you that this program is interdisciplinary. We do the interview. The reason why we have to do the interview, we would like to find out, you know, whether you have the caliber to become someone that can work together in the studio and have this critical thinking, as well as, you know, the ability, as well as your interest to explore new things.
Thank you very much. And there is a question about portfolio. We don't require portfolio, so we only consider your DSE results and interview performance. And another question about the numbers about non-JUPAS applications. So basically, our program's non-JUPAS, the admission related numbers are already available in public at HKU website. Please Google non-JUPAS BAUS. But if I tell you briefly, so major the exam results we consider for non-JUPAS applications include the IB test results and GCE A-level test and SAT scores, and you can find the minimum requirements for each test on HKU non-JUPAS application website. And for example, like in the past, IB's test minimum score was 31, and the GCE A-level test 2A, 1B for 3 advanced subjects, and the SAT score like general test 1350, and plus 3 subject scores of 550 for each subject are required as a minimum. And the next question, I think probably this question is about Professor Ye's presentation. Why Kwun Tong has been chosen to be the second CBD in Hong Kong? So Professor Ye, can you answer this question?
No, because if we want to have a second CBD, where is the best place? And the Kwun Tong CBD 2, what they call, or CPT square, this was developed in the early 2005, right? At that time, you know, a lot of things are developing. And so this is the reason why it's being chosen at the time. But if we are going to plan for another CBD, probably it will be different, right? The locations, but you cannot roll the history backward, right? Okay. Now the other thing is, I think that there's a very interesting question, right? Besides learning about spatial structure, what are we going to study about the city economy, law and regulations? Very good questions, right? I'm sorry, maybe I have misled you that the program is only about urban spatial structure. It's not. Urban spatial structure is only one of the outcome of this type of you know, a spatial process that we are looking into. In that case, basically you need to know about the economy, the law, right, that governs, you know, there is a certain rule, right, just like urban planning, right, and so there are certain urban development type of regulations that actually shape the cities itself. So the emphasis is not so much basically on the urban spatial structure. We also, as I keep on saying, this is an interdisciplinary program that helps you to understand cities. And cities It can be buildings, it can be people, it can be the environment, it can be the economy. So this is the reason why, and also the land use, right? And so this is the reason why at the very early beginning already ask you what is a city, right? So you can see the city is not only about urban spatial structure, not only about land use, population distribution, social distribution, as well as employment distribution. Right? This is only part of the result of the urban development process that we need to study in order to figure out what are the type of output we are having.
So thank you very much. And there is one question about environmental subjects. Yeah, of course, the environment is one core subject of urban studies, because basically for urban development, you must deal with you must consider interactions between human systems and environmental system, right? So urban studies is a very interdisciplinary subject that consider not just a human system, but also natural systems as well. So environmental planning policy is a core concentration of multiple subjects covered by urban studies. So definitely you can study environmental protection subjects once you get into our program. So I'm okay. So here, basically, this is one example of the information about non-JUPAS application and then admission related numbers you can find on HKU website. Please Google non-JUPAS HKU, and you will find that info that website. So for example, you can get this kind of information. So like this is our program, Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies. So like IB diploma, you know, what kind of minimum scores are necessary. You can get this kind of information, and also further information about each qualification. So that answers this question. And there was another question about geography. So again, we consider best 5 subject scores for admission purposes, and geography subject test is not required. So although if you have good knowledge of geography, that would be a plus. But for admission purposes, we don't require geography subject score.
In fact, a lot of our students do not take geography before.
Correct. Is there any specific high school subject required for the course? My current. So again, no. As long as you are not afraid of drawing and designing things using your hand or using computer software, and also you are comfortable. As long as you are comfortable working with numbers, that's fine. So everything you need, we will teach, and you will learn in class once you get into our program. So you don't need to worry about it. And
there are 3 questions, right? About
sure.
you know
Wow, too many
IoT,
questions.
about IoT, as well as about interview, and also about the CBD. A lot of you are very concerned. Now let's try to answer the easy one first. The interview, right? If you do not put us in band A, I'm sorry. It's difficult for us to interview you, because we have so many applications, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do not put us in band A, I'm sorry, you will not have the opportunity to be interviewed. The second thing is about IoT, and also about computer programming, etc. Right? As I said in the lecture about the future development of cities, smart technologies obviously is one of the work. But obviously we are not engineering, right? We are talking about data analytics. And so we have a studio, and also we have a course talking about how do you analyze the data, how do you use GIS, geographic information system, right, to also look into the BIM, the building information model. So these are the types of smart cities data that we need to analyze in order to help us to understand the city better, as well as to try to do some planning for the cities. Now, the last questions I'm going to answer is about the CBD. If the Hong Kong government today have to work on another new CBD, right? We cannot, forget about Kwun Tong. Kwun Tong is there. It's going to be developed as our second CBD. So what is the first CBD? So if we are going to develop the first CBD, obviously the location will be near Shenzhen at the west because they are developing the Qinghai CBD over there. So in order for us to work together and also have this agglomeration economy, probably we should be somewhere near, for example, Hong Shui Kiu or near, Tuen Mun, that area towards the west, right? We cannot be towards the east. So these are some of my quick questions. Thank you.
Sure. So, and there are two questions about career path, after completing our BAS program. So this slide, you can learn like basically in terms of the areas, you can do lots of things. You have a chance to be a surveyor in the planning and development division, or you can pursue an advanced degree in urban planning, so you can be a professional town planner, or actually career options are pretty open. So this is one statistic. So like in our past students, so around 2/3 actually decided to study more for an advanced degree in the planning field or related areas. So around 40% of our graduates remain in Hong Kong. So with in our Master of Science in Urban Planning program, which is the only recognized postgraduate planning program in Hong Kong, and around 20% of our students actually went overseas for an advanced degree in planning or related fields, including University of Cambridge, University College London in the UK, or University of Pennsylvania, UC Berkeley in the United States, or University of Waterloo. And around 40% of our former graduate students decided to have jobs immediately after they graduated, and around 30% found jobs in the private sector, including like Arab or ACOM, like a very famous private consultancy, and the TVB, Haisan kind of development companies, Cathay Pacific, Jockey Club, etc. So like, and lots of design and architecture or surveying firms. Okay, and around 10% of our former graduates found jobs in the public sector, like MTR or departments of the Hong Kong government, including planning department, home affairs department, or transportation department. So like your career path is very open. Okay, so I think this answers 2 questions about career path. And if you have an associate degree or a high diploma, before you apply to our program, we still consider your applications, but you will need some strong justification. Why do you need another bachelor's degree in addition to your existing degrees? But you can apply. Have high. So in Hong Kong, has some kind of mixture system, like a top down and also bottom up. But although top down planning culture is much stronger, and we planners basically are assisting like the government decision makers so that they can arrive at better public decisions. So in this process, we also need lots of inputs from the stakeholder groups as well. So in that case, it's a kind of mixed up between the top down and bottom up approaches. And learning about spatial structure, so basically it's about our program curriculum, right? So again, you can find a lot more detailed information on about our curriculum. But if I tell you very briefly, so basically not just spatial structure, although is a core subject of our core courses, but you learn lots of methods and how to work with actual data like urban analytics you can find here, and also research methods, and also you take one law course required, okay, and economics course as well, because some urban problems require economics approach as well. And you can see lots of courses like you also need to know about policy and governance, because the urban studies field has very close link to the government, public sector. And we also take conservation courses and more practical courses like BIM, CIM, GIS courses, and also cost benefit analysis and project appraisal. So lots of courses given the multidisciplinary nature of the urban studies subject. So it's spatial analysis is only part of the knowledge that you need to be an expert in urban studies field, and you will learn a lot more subjects as suggested by our academic curriculum. Okay, career path in the Hong Kong government, I already covered this topic. Besides having our, oops, I don't understand this question. Okay, typical offer or entry requirement. So again, this kind of the information can be found on HKU's admission webpage. But if I tell you briefly, I think this year's median DSE score of admitted students was 29, if you consider best 5 subject score. And last year, very similar. Last year, the median score was 28. So, okay, you can also find the lower quartile and the upper quartile scores on the either JUPAS website or our HKU website as well. What is the professional recognition? Okay, so Planning and Development Division of Hong Kong Institute of Surveyors, HKIS, and also Planning and Development Division of Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. So we have our BAUS program has two recognition by 2 professional organizations, one based in Hong Kong, the other based in the UK. Okay. I already answered this question. You can apply. Yes, it is possible to pursue on advanced degree, so postgraduate degree in architecture studies if you want. So it's totally depends on your interest. So if you're more interested in like architecture than planner, you can do so. And I think this is the next question is about Professor Ye's lecture. So will Lantau Island will be the new CBD as it is near the Greater Bay Area, favorable to business interactions between mainland China and Hong Kong firms? Professor Ye, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there. I think this is also a good question, right? So basically, the location choice of this Lantau project, right? Tomorrow's Lantau is, I think, is also related to the location's advantage, right? It's at the western side. So I think this is also one of the advantage of having a CBD closer to the you know, the Qinghai area. But also we recognize this is also a very controversial project. Everything that we do in the society now is quite controversial. It's always an argument about, you know, is it worth it? The cost benefit analysis, a lot of political issues involved, right? There's also a question. It's about, you know, any final year project to be done in year 4. The answer is yes. We have a capstone dissertation. In case that we are able, you know, you to get all the skills, the knowledge, as well as the interest that you have within the 4 years, and try to write a dissertation at the end of it. We call it this capstone experience. And so you're able to do an individual dissertation based on a topic of your interest. And then you can combine, making use of all your knowledge and methodology that you learn from the course to do it.
And there's one more question related to land vision tomorrow. So does land vision tomorrow is the only way to solve the land shortage problem, or there is another approach instead of reclamation?
Well, we all understand there are many different types of opportunities or different types of method of solving one issue, right? Basically, we need to have more land, right? So it's whether we are going to have land reclamations or whether we are going to make use of the existing brownfield site, right? But this is basically a political decisions.
And another question related to your lecture. In other words, all the pre-existing inequalities that have been exacerbated by COVID-19, what do we talk about? So the relationship between COVID-19 and inequality. Professor, yeah.
Well, there will be definitely people will be affected, right? If you are poor, it will be even poorer, right? Because of unemployment, because people cannot travel, right? This is one very fundamental thing. If the world is based on, in the last 30 years, why we have economic development, particularly in the China area and also Asia as well, even in Hong Kong, we benefit from one thing called globalization, right? Basically, people can travel freely, the goods can travel freely, right? And so now this is not only about COVID-19. COVID-19 is a disease that prevents you from traveling, from moving around. But more importantly, now I think there is an emergence of what is known as anti-globalization, okay? And this is called protectionism. In the case, this will even be something will influence the development of cities, particularly in Asia, more than before. So it's not only about COVID-19. Even if COVID-19 is over next year, we still have to have another new form of a problem coming up. It's called anti-globalization, which was the major, factor for affecting or having the economic boom, if you like, in Asia, particularly in Asian cities.
Okay, thank you. And there is a question about a student studying at MIT's architecture program. He's wondering whether he can apply to our MUP program. Of course, you are welcome to apply. So please do so. And one more thing. Oh, so yeah. So basically, recognition by HKS and RICS. That means that once you complete our BAUS degree, then you can be a probationer under either by either like a HKS or RICS program. So that will then basically you can take a kind of shortcut. So after spending at least 2 years or more in this field, then you are qualified to be a professional like the surveyors in the planning and development division, yeah, both in Hong Kong and the UK. But it all depends on your performance as a probationer. So like you have to pass, I think, APC, the some kind of assessment, okay, based on your training period. But definitely completing our degree will help you reduce the amount of training required to have a membership. So the answer is yes. And okay, did I cover? So I don't understand this question, but this is about the DSE subject requirement. Again, we consider the best 5 DSE results, and in addition to 4 required subjects, the 5th subject score can be any subject. We don't require any subject for the last for the 5th subject. So there is no such requirement. Okay, Professor Ye already answered this question, and I don't know. Is there a registered urban architect or just architect? I'm actually not sure, but some architects are actually working on some urban planning topics, so focusing on like a site level planning. But I'm actually not sure whether there is a registered urban architect. Is the Professor Ye, do you have an idea about this? Registered urban architect?
What do you mean a registered urban architect? I
I
don't
actually have no
understand.
idea.
No,
Actually,
actually,
I
we
don't
only
know.
have a registered architect. We don't have so-called urban architect, right? So
Yeah.
if you want to become a architect, then you have to study in the architecture program and also doing the MArch, right? And to be a member, particularly in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Institute of Architects. Right, and also the University of Hong Kong is now offering a 3-year architecture program for those without the bachelor degree of urban architecture studies training. Right, so this is something new. Obviously, you have a lot of competitions, and you have to demonstrate basically you know how to draw and design, right? Because architecture is not only about calculations; the design element is very important. And so Hong Kong U is now having, I think, 3 years new urban architecture program for a master degree.
And another question, so if I can't enter this program, is civil engineering a good alternative? It totally depends on you, but definitely civil engineering and urban studies share some core content. I think, although approaches are very different. So I think you can consider civil engineering as a good alternative, but it totally depends on you. So some students may choose like a geography or policy. It all depends on you. Or if you are more interested in like urban design, then probably some other programs within our faculty can also be an alternative. It totally depends on your interest. And a student from Saudi Arabia, welcome in the program. Of course, our program values diversity. And in addition to JUPAS students, we also take students through non-JUPAS channel. So definitely we value diversity, and you are welcome to apply to our BAS program. So great. So thank you for attending this event from Saudi Arabia, very far. And last question, any exchange opportunities available? Oh, yeah, definitely. So in the past, so now we have the different situation because of pandemic, but in the past, almost all of our students went overseas for a semester exchange. So over 90%. So around half of them, I think I have a slide on that. Around half of them actually went to the UK. Oh, here is the here are some numbers. Okay, so basically more recently, almost all of our students went overseas for a semester exchange, and UK is the most preferred locations, followed by other Western Europe countries and the United States and other parts of the world. So exchange opportunities are offered at 2 levels. So at the department level, we have the a department level exchange arrangement with overseas universities, including University College London and Sciences Po in France, and also University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and the Tsinghua University at Beijing University. And these places are exclusively for our students. And but a lot more of our students actually used university level the exchange program. Basically, HKU has partnerships with almost all of the major universities in the world, and our students have been successful, very successful in reserving like spots for themselves through competition with other students at the university. So basically, yes, there are very good exchange opportunities offered at 2 levels, department level and also at the university level. And most of our students have been successful in taking either channel to go overseas for a semester exchange. Okay, so any other question? I think I covered all of the questions, I guess. Did I miss anything? Okay, I think, wow. So you gave us a lot of questions. So we ran over time by almost 30 minutes. So probably we have to wrap up this event here. Again, if you have any further questions about our program, please visit our program's website given here, or you can just email us. We are happy to answer, or you can just call us as well. Okay, so here is the contact information you can find. So let's wrap up today's event here. And again, thank you very much for joining us. And again, I express my great thanks to Professor Ye for excellent presentation, also taking care of the questions. So thank you very much all. So have a nice evening. Bye.